Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to talk about Survivor 48, the penultimate episode. We are gearing up for the finale here. And to help us out with this recap, we are joined by none other than the number one juror, decider of fate, the sick nastiest house guest from Big Brother 26, Quinn Martin. Quinn, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. And penultimate, that's a phenomenal vocab word. My friend Maya taught me that in rock climbing. So, oh my gosh, I have just a rush of emotions hitting me all at once. Wow. Both of you, incredible hosts off the rip.
Appreciate that. Have it's good to, learn something new every day, right? All right. Well, Quinn, we always like to start off by asking our guests about their reality TV origin stories. So, what was the show that first got you hooked on reality TV? And what are some of your favorite shows, besides Big Brother, of course, to watch now?
I feel like realistically, it has to probably be Fear Factor was probably one of the first reality TV shows that I watched. I remember watching Survivor a lot with my family. I'm a military brat, so I remember growing up in Germany, and I remember my parents having to figure out how to record episodes on like a VHS and stuff like that, so that we could catch it later on. Because I think the airtime was a little different. I think it was past my bedtime, and I'd have to sneak out to watch episodes. But Big Brother will always be number one for me. When we moved back to the States, that's when my love started for Big Brother. During the summertime, can't help but fall in love with it.
Of course. It's funny. I just, like, maybe a year or two ago, found VHS tapes that I had recorded episodes of Big Brother 5. And, like, I have no way of watching those now, of course, on VHS. But we just kind of were going through all our stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like, I hardly remember watching that season. But yeah, it's fun to find all that stuff.
Yeah, Fear Factor is an OG. I remember that was actually one I feel like I was thinking, I thought I started with American Idol, and now I'm like, maybe it was Fear Factor that I watched first, because that was before, I think, when I started American Idol. And I never wanted to do it, but I was like, this is interesting.
Oh my gosh, American Idol, that might be the first, maybe. For
That was
me,
my
that's
first.
that's true. Like,
Yeah.
I always felt like American Idol, the goal was to catch the early episodes because that's where the bad singers were. But now my friend PJ from high school, he was on American Idol, and that like
Oh.
somewhat inspired me to apply for Big Brother. I like remembered that you can do
Oh.
that. I was like, oh yeah, we're allowed to apply. I forgot. I thought MacArthur High School they told us no, and so then I was like, oh my god, I have always wanted to be on Big Brother. Like, I guess I have to apply in order to make that possible. But yeah, oh man, American Idol is such a phenomenal show.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That was my first as well. Well, Quinn, as we mentioned, of course, you were on Big Brother 26, and what has it's we're gearing up for another Big Brother season. It's been almost a year since you entered the house. What has life been like for the last year for you? How has your life changed over since the show?
Oh man, since being on Big Brother, I feel like I have a lot more tech savviness. I've started streaming on Twitch, which has then led to me running into every technical error possible while having an audience. So it's been a trial by fire. I moved back into my parents' house. I was working in Omaha, Nebraska before this, and then my lease was up. So I'm just like looking for jobs in my parents' house. So it's been 6 steps forward, but 8 steps back. It feels like, but oh my gosh, it's been so cool. I've gotten to meet so many interesting people as a result of being on reality TV. I think that's been one of the greatest benefits. Is like when I'm watching an episode of reality TV, now I can DM them without feeling a little weird, and then I'm just like, we're besties. Don't even stress. Like I have that automatic like preset like perspective of, well, at least I have like 18 new friends now when I watch Survivor, and then with Big Brother it'll be 16. So yeah, it's kind of changed my viewing experience. I feel like it feels like I'm there. Anytime I watch a strategic conversation happen, it feels like I'm sitting right next to them and I'm like being an engaged listener while watching TV because I'm like, you need to nod your head and like agree so people feel affirmed as they're talking. And I'm like, I'm not there. With Survivor, this is recorded a year ago. But yeah, it's just made watching reality TV that much better.
Oh my gosh, I can't even think about how weird it's going to feel for you with the live feeds during Big Brother 27.
Oh
That
my
is probably
gosh.
going to be a wild experience.
Especially now that I know that the house looks different in person.
Yeah.
Like it was so bright with being in there. And then whenever I watch it, it like looks like a normal house. Like I'm
Yeah.
rewatching my season. And so I'm gonna just have that in the back of my head of like, I don't actually know what this house looks like. Okay. I might be watching the live feeds. I might catch the update Twitter account, but I'm not there. So therefore this my perspective on this house is completely wrong, you know?
Yeah, well, that's why we see everyone in sunglasses all day long. I feel like for a long time people were like, why are they always wearing sunglasses inside? But that makes sense. It's very bright with all the studio lights.
Oh yes. If you're gonna be on Big Brother 27, go online and buy the prescription sunglasses. Okay? Don't do
I
what
got
I
this.
did and just be like, I'll be able to handle being blind because you won't, okay? You don't have the heart to do that. You can't pull that off. So go out and buy the prescription sunglasses.
Good advice. That might be, I'm going to say that's very unique advice that I'm going to say nobody has ever, previous house guest has ever suggested that before. So I appreciate the exclusive advice only here on Let's Chat Reality.
Of course.
Well, who are you still closest with from your cast?
I think the number one person has to be like Brooklyn. I
Married
am
mother.
obsessed with her and her beautiful family. Shout out Eddie, like, and the kids. Come on. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their names, so I won't say their names. I don't know how public they are, but I love Brooklyn. They like she's the best. And then like, I mean, I of course keep in touch with like I text Tucker every once in a while, Matt and Mackenzie. I may have helped T-Core get a job. There's like
Wow.
this rap duo called Flying a Boss. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
rated them on Twitch. And then someone in my chat was like, this is Quinn from Big Brother 26. And then they were like, shut up. We watch Big Brother, which was super unexpected. I rated them as like a fan.
Yeah.
And so then they're like talking about my season and they mentioned T-Core. And so I typed in the chat, I was like, you should let her style you. And they said, okay, tell her to DM us and she can style us. So T-Core, I may have gotten her a job.
Wow.
And
That's
then I
really
was texting
cool.
Chemo last night at like 8 in the morning.
That's
Oh
fun.
my gosh, love that. I just I loved your cast so much, and I love to hear that so many of y'all are still very close a year later. That's always very nice to hear because it doesn't always happen.
Of course. That's true. That's true. I went in there like prepared to dislike everyone, but I was so hopeful that I would meet like my best friends. And I ended up surrounded by like the greatest people imaginable. Like I can't think of a negative thing to say about anyone as a
Yeah,
result of being in the house. You know, like it's just truly been I feel very lucky that my cast is so great.
for sure. Well, we got some news last week about Big Brother 27. We got a premiere date of July 10th. We also got some news that there's going to be 90-minute Wednesday episodes all season long, as well as a new Big Brother Unlocked Friday show, which sounds kind of like an after show in the vein of like Big Brother House Calls back in the day or something like that. Molly, what were your thoughts on? We'll start with like the 90-minute Wednesday episodes. That is going to be very interesting because we already feel like we have a lot of Big Brother during the week, and I feel like some seasons, some weeks, this extra 30 minutes, I'm sure will be very helpful. Some weeks maybe not, but overall, what do you think about that?
I'm excited. I think with episodes, obviously, like, you get the live feeds, you get to see a lot, but episodes, I think you don't always get to see that much just because they're trying to condense a lot into just the hour episodes we get. So I think the 90 minutes is going to be very beneficial on Wednesday night just so that we can not feel it be as rushed, I would say, especially like just right after like you just want to see more in general of like what's going on in the episode.
Hmm.
So I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Quinn, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's too much Big Brother, or more Big Brother the merrier?
I think that so Big Brother is my favorite show on TV. Okay, so from that perspective, I am so unbelievably hyped that we're gonna get more content. I don't care if it's more if it's just 30 minutes of them explaining the veto and then we're like watching it happen. I don't care. More screen time, the
Yeah.
better. I'm excited for the people in the house because that opens the door for more diary rooms from people that maybe we wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone getting lost in the edit. But as someone who rewatched the entire series before I went into the house, like I started studying at the end of Big Brother 25. I was like, I'm going to have everything rewatched by the time I'm going in for BB 26. That rewatch is getting harder and harder every day. It's already 40 episodes. And now they're gonna look us in the eyes and say we're adding like what is it, an extra 40 and then divided by 3 plus 30, a million years to your watch time. So get ready for that. The talk show, I'm lit. I need a call. I wanted to make a house calls reference during my like exit interview, but I didn't get Julie. I got Jerry. So I was like, I was gonna do the hidden immunity idol like gag during my speech, and then if I got voted out, my plan was to always be like, look, I'm sure we'll talk about this tomorrow morning on house calls. And I was like, this is gonna kill him. But then I had Jerry, and I was like, I don't know how big of a fan he is for real. He is a massive fan, by the way. But
Yeah.
I'm I'm hyped for this talk show. I'm hoping that we get to hear from like Jag, Taylor. I want to hear from Chelsea. Like, I would love the winners' perspectives with like a
Mhm.
rotating cast of personality hires.
I want you on there every week, but at least an appearance, at the very least. But yeah, no, I agree. I'm really excited for the talk show. Like, I don't know what it's gonna end up being. It could end up being just like random clips of them singing in the backyard or something that, like, but I think every other week I think is perfect, actually, because not every week probably that is gonna be needed, but but by the time they have 2 weeks to fill to talk about, I think we'll have enough content. But yeah, I'm gonna say to you, Quinn, I don't know that Julie Chen would remember house calls. Do
She
you think
would.
she
She
would?
would. Come on, it's Julie. Come on. She's the best host around, all right? You
Yeah.
heard me, Jeff Probst, all right? Julie's coming for your title.
But no, I agree with y'all. Look, more Big Brother, the better. If we need to fast forward through the episodes on Wednesday, sometimes fine, let it be. But I always say, more content. I'd rather them have the minutes that they need to get the story right and to fit everything in that they need to, and have some weeks be more fluff, than to not have enough time when they need it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. But let's move into some Survivor then. We are gearing up for the finale here. And Quinn, what have been your overall thoughts on this season?
Listen, okay? Twitter wants me to believe that this season sucks, okay? Twitter is doing everything in their power to say that this is a miserable excuse for reality TV, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think reality TV is an opportunity to meet interesting people, and we've done just that. I'm so incredibly fascinated by the Survivor 48 cast. I think that everyone right now feels like they can win, and that all it takes is for them to be at the final tribal. That's like a really fascinating experience of like where everyone thinks they can pull off a win. So why play risky when all you have to do is stick to the game plan and make it to the end? I'm loving this season. I've loved everyone that we've gotten to meet. I'm excited to get more segments and learn more about the people we have still in the show. But I've liked this season. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. No, and I think that the season is going to age well. is my prediction. Because I think when you're watching it on a week to week basis, yeah, there were kind of some weeks where just the predictable thing ended up happening. And that's always frustrating when it's like you wait all week for it and then you get there and then it's predictable and then you have to wait a whole nother week for an episode that might be predictable. But I think on a binge, on a rewatch, when we see it in the future, I think this finale will be important to, I guess, see what happens and if we end well here. But I do think that there's a good chance that when we look back at the season, we'll say, it wasn't as bad as we thought in the moment. But Molly, let's kind of get into this episode here. So the final six come back from camp after voting out Mary. Eva, Joe, Kyle, and Cheyenne get together to determine whether they want to target Mitch or Camilla. And they decide on Mitch because they think that he's harder to beat at Final Tribal. So, Molly, do you agree with that assessment? That you think that Mitch has a better shot at winning than Camilla does?
Well, having met Mitch, I love Mitch, but I do not agree with that statement. I think
We met
Camilla
both of them.
Yeah, we met both of them. I've hung out with Mitch twice though, so I feel like
Oh, okay, yes.
because
Besties.
I have one up on Camilla for him. But I think overall, like maybe we're missing something, but he hasn't really been making many moves in the game. But Camilla obviously is working behind the scenes with Kyle, and no one knows that though. So like that's a big pitch for her. So I think at this point, obviously, like they don't know that, so it's not like
Sure.
in their brains of what's happening. But from our viewer perspective, like it would not be the best move for them to get rid of Mitch, since I think he would be easier to beat.
Yeah. Quinn, what did you think about that?
I think that I think that Mitch is playing a really good social game, but maybe that hasn't been a large part of the story and narrative of this season. We witnessed this episode where people are mentioning that Mitch has win equity at the end, and maybe they're trying to justify in their head his eventual eviction. Like that's usually what happens, is that you convince yourself that the person on the block is actually the bad guy and that they need to go home. And so as they're targeting Mitch, they're like, well, he would totally win if he made it to the end. But I think that there's a lot of nuance to Mitch's game. And at the center of it is a strong social game. I remember when I talked to him at the watch party, he said that he had like really good conversations with Joe. And that's why Joe picked him for the reward and stuff like that.
Oh,
And so I'm
interesting.
like, in Mitch's head, he probably thinks that he has a great connection with Joe. And so, Joe is doing a great job of watering all those plants. So everyone thinks that he's good with them. And well, he hasn't played this game other than truth and honesty and biceps. So of course I'll take him to the end. I can take him out. So I don't blame Mitch for him having a strong social game, him recognizing that and thinking, you know what, I can leverage this. But to go against the GOAT Camilla, I think you got to be a little silly. Okay, that's my dog right there. She's my draft pick. Her and Kevin. Okay, she's representing. And so I'm hoping she makes it to the end and wins, proving Mitch wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Camilla's game is very much like behind the scenes, kind of like you were saying, Molly. I think that to this big alliance, it's like, oh, Camilla's just kind of been on the outs. Like we can get her out whenever. Mitch, he has a great story. I'm sure that they feel like that he is good with everyone, has a great social game, probably close with everyone on the jury. Like that might be something that's hard to beat. So yeah, I think that I can understand why, from their perspective, why they think that Mitch would be harder to beat. But I agree that I think that it's actually probably Camilla that has a better shot. But then we get Kyle and Cheyenne both separately debating whether this is the time to make a move against the Alliance to take out Joe. Quinn, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because how hard is it, do you think, to balance making a big move for your resume while also trying to maintain this like jury management and not putting someone on the jury who's going to be bitter against you, with someone like Joe especially, who's so big on loyalty, so big on honesty, and to blindside him and have this big move, he in theory would be very bitter against whoever did that to him. So kind of how is the best way, do you think, to kind of manage that?
I think that when it comes to jury management and making big moves, Survivor, there's a bit of a benefit where people are a little less likely to be bitter because everyone is a super fan of the show. But I think that if you're gonna make big moves, the important thing is that you own it on finale night. Like, I love the idea of taking Joe's trust and like tossing it in the nearest puddle and then like doing like dropping an elbow into it. That's hilarious to me. And if I'm playing, I would see Joe as like this fat, juicy steak of I can't wait to take advantage of this naivety that you have going on right now because this is incredible for me. Um, I think that if you do that though, and you stab Joe in the back, you have to say, I was never about honesty and integrity. Those were your words, and I let you be dumb enough to believe that I would subscribe to something so silly. I came here to siphon the dreams and aspirations from every single one of you. And I did that. And I do it twice because it led to me getting here, right? Like, those, I know that that was part of my speech. If I made it on finale night, I was going to be like, you guys, I lied to all of you, and it didn't even make sense sometimes, but that's what I came here to do because I have the social game to pull it off. So it's like I understand the fear of making a move. Survivor is so fast paced, so everyone's feelings. I was in the jury house for a month, right? If I were salty, I could have been annoyed with Rubina's bracelet thing. I could have been annoyed with the jury management of Mackenzie and Cam lying to me for some reason. We don't have the AI arena, so what's the like point in lying? And so it's like I had enough time to decompress. If you're in Ponderosa, you don't exactly have that much time to decompress, but that just makes it much more important on finale night to like talk your shit and let everyone know. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on here.
Yeah.
To talk your like game and be proud of the lies and deception you've told, because if you try to like hide from it, I think that that's not only embarrassing, but it just shows that like a misunderstanding of your game, which then people, there's no incentive to vote for you if you yourself can't identify why you ended up there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very that's a very good way of putting it. No, I think that I worry with this cast because I mean you're right on most Survivor seasons that everyone's a super fan, but this season that's not necessarily the case. And so that's the only thing I worry about is that I do kind of feel like someone like David is going to be very bitter against Joe
Oh, probably.
actually. But like I worry, yeah, I worry that Joe's going to be kind of the same way that David was, though. If he gets blindsided, like I feel like he is just going to be like Eva's number one supporter, like wearing the T-shirt, like, and if he gets blindsided and hurt and feels betrayed, like I worry that he is going to try to poison that jury, and I don't know how much sway he's going to have, but I would think that everyone thinks they were very close to Joe. Like I feel like he's probably going to have like quite a bit of sway with some of them. So that's the only thing that worries me. But I think you just kind of have to take that risk, right? Like I think if you get there and say like I didn't do anything, I'd rather be able to say like to get to the end and say like at least I tried to make this move. If they're bitter, they're bitter. But like at least I did the best I could.
Oh yeah, it definitely falls onto like the jury questioning portion.
Yeah.
It's like if you yourself feel hurt by a situation or a circumstance that led to your eviction, you need to address that on finale night. And luckily, it's like a Socratic seminar essentially, like where everyone's able to weigh in and provide their thoughts. So it's like, okay, if you're Joe and you're so hurt that you got blindsided, you better have the like facilities to at least ask good enough questions and be a good jury member. That's not guaranteed, that's not required, but that's what I would do,
Yeah.
But David's definitely not voting for Joe, which just I think is hilarious. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, David, be salty. Screw it, dude. Vote for Mary. See if you can get away with it, man.
He still seems like very salty about it. Like even in his exit interviews that are, today, like just a few weeks ago, he seemed very salty still. So I'm sure just a few days after his blindside, he was even saltier. So looking forward to that if Joe makes final three.
Hopefully Joe takes those like with pride, like when I heard that Cedric called me a snake in his exit interview, I was eating his tears for breakfast. I was like, oh yeah, I am a snake, dude. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Like, I love the evil stuff. So like, hopefully that doesn't hurt his feelings. He seems like kind of a big softie, so hopefully he's taking it well.
Yeah, it's very old school Survivor. Very like very, where you get the bitterness, and I feel like for a while with all the super fans we haven't seen that in a bit, so it feels like, "Whoa, this is crazy." But like back in the day, like this was very normal.
Yeah.
True.
Well, let's get to the reward challenge then. So the challenge was that they had to use small handholds to secure themselves on a steep ramp suspended over water. Last one standing wins. Very simple. The winner gets to go to the sanctuary where good things happen for burgers, fries, cheesecake, etc. And then also, of course, letters from home, and it's also an overnight reward. So they get pillows and blankets to spend the night there. Cheyenne ends up winning this, and he decides to take Joe and Kyle with him. Molly, what did you think of his choice to take Joe and Kyle? Was that a good selection?
Yeah, I think it makes sense just because of how close Shaheen is with Joe and Kyle, and just at this point in the game, like you want your buddies there with you at the reward you win, and Shaheen was obviously so happy because this was his first win as well to get. So this was the big one, and getting the reward and having the letters from home, like that's obviously a big one there, not just the food and overnight. So like it was a whole jackpot of a reward for this one.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it was a good choice because I think you have to take Joe to kind of keep him not suspicious if you plan on doing something against him. And then with Kyle, he's kind of the one who I think you really wanted to pick his brain and talk to, and, about potentially blindsiding Joe and Eva. So I think good choice all around to kind of get everything that you want, all your bases covered.
Yeah.
But then they read their letters at the reward. Shane's is from his mom, Joe's is from his son, and Kyle's is from his dad. Very touching moments all around. Joe shares the story of losing his sister to domestic violence. We get more of that later. And that's where, look, I love 90-minute episodes because it gives us time for these moments that I think would have felt very rushed if we got them at all back in the day. So that's where I really do, like people say, oh, the 90 minutes are dragging this season. But moments like that, I'm glad we have them. But it also, to kind of put it into game perspective a little bit of this moment, this is a bit of a hero's edit for Joe. Now, Quinn, do you think that this is an indication that Joe potentially this is kind of his winner's edit, or do you think that potentially it could be a red herring or a setup for a redemption arc on Survivor 50?
Not Survivor 50. No way, dude. If like the laundry list of people that have come out of the woodwork being like, I've been cut from Survivor 50, if they called Joe, I'd be like, what are we doing, dude? You want to be on Survivor? Hit the gym, okay? That's all that matters. But I feel like we have so many people who like read into the edit and they want to get in their heads like, is it a red herring? Is it this? Is that? I think the simple answer is like Joe probably wins, right? like the simple answer.
Yeah.
But I'm a believer, okay? And I want someone who's got a dastardly nasty streak to themselves to pull it off. So I'm hoping that this is just a great character moment. Let everyone in the audience connect with someone who's being vulnerable. Like, I feel like that is so much of what Survivor is offering you the chance to connect with someone's story. And so I'm hoping, like, me and my mom were like tearing up as this is happening. And so my hope is that this was just such a powerful moment they couldn't help but keep it in. And it's not an indication of who wins the season. Even though Joe would be
Yeah.
like a really good winner, like he's got a solid, like, you know how Dee just kind of like crushed it because she's good at everything? Like that's kind of what Joe has going for him, except for he's got this like Three Musketeers bar like wrapper on it saying like honesty, trust, and integrity. And it's just like, oh my God. I hate the branding, love the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good way to
No,
put it.
I don't know. I could see it being a Survivor 50 thing. Like because I think that look, the super fans, the Twitter Survivor Twitter crowd doesn't like this whole honesty integrity thing. The Facebook crowd I think is eating it up. And I think that they will see Joe on the cast list for Survivor 50 and be like, oh my God, I loved Joe. I'm so happy. He deserves this. Like, I just think that like putting him in there, it's like it's very kind of Joe Englem in a way, like our other Survivor Joe, where it's like this just like superhero that I think a lot of the casual fans, the older crowd, I think is gonna really love it. So I don't know. That's my assumption is that I think right now I'm thinking Kyle wins, Joe for 50.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I really want a Kyle win, so I hope it wasn't just like the view of like, oh, it's a hero's edit, like it's showing that he wins. But obviously, like it could be that way, but we just don't know until what happens. But I think Joe is just such a likable guy, and obviously we met him, all three of us at
Yeah.
Bryce and Len. Shout out. So we we got to know him also in person. He just is so nice. It's like
Yes.
who's not gonna like Joe? Like he's just a great guy.
No, absolutely. And none of this, like anything that they say, like, oh, like, it's not the most exciting Survivor castaway of all time. Like, that doesn't take anything away from him being an amazing person. So I want to make that
Oh,
clear.
absolutely. If he were to play Big Brother 26, the speed at which he would align with Brooklyn number 1,
Oh, yeah.
they would be magnets. Like they would have the same, like it would be scary. If I were in the house and I saw Brooklyn and Joe link up, because he has all the facilities to be a good player, and part of being a good player is that you control chaos. So it's
Mm,
like on a TV viewer's perspective, you can be like, man, this isn't the most exciting TV. But as like a fan of the sport of Survivor, I feel like everyone can at least appreciate what he's providing, which is like, man,
yeah.
he really is like managing all these different fires, and he's hasn't compromised his line, and that's pretty impressive, you know?
Oh yeah.
I think if Joe had been on Big Brother 26, I think Sweet Kenny K doesn't want to go home. I think that they would also probably connect very well.
Oh my god, another buff guy? Are you kidding me? Do you know the fact that it took 3 weeks for Kenny to identify me as a potential ally because I had proved that I was like tough enough? I was like, are you, it took you that long? I was letting everyone know that I was like a college athlete. I was like, I need like alliance members. Kenny was not convinced. Kenny saw me running, like doing suicides in the backyard. He saw me performing in these physical competitions. And then week 3, he was like, Quinn's a competitor. He's a competitor. He would have looked at Joe and been like, that's the love of my life.
Yeah.
It's me, my wife Renee, Matt, of course, and Joe. Joe is my soul sister. We're in this together. Mwah, kiss his forehead. Oh my god. They would have been best friends, and they would have targeted me. They would have picked up on my sneakiness and thrown me to
Mhm.
the garbage disposal system for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Quinn Martin on Big Brother reads loyalty, honesty, and integrity. So I think that Joe may have come for you. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
I would have thought he was lying. Every time, like, Mackenzie, who was a very honest player, every time she was like, I'm here to play an honest game, I was like, oh, yeah, sure, dude. Okay, yeah. I'm saying the same thing, man. Oh, I love it. I love the truth. And then I'm rewatching Big Brother 26. Mackenzie says it, and I, like, sit back and I go, she was telling the truth. She really did come in here to tell the truth. Like, that's fascinating. So yeah, I think I
Yeah.
would have convinced myself Joe's the biggest liar in there.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable assumption. Also, and when anyone on one of these shows says that, I think it's good to side eye. But back at camp, Mitch and Camilla complained that Cheyenne gave Joe food and a good night's sleep by giving him this reward. So he's going to be more likely to win immunity when they were wanting to get him out. Now, of course, we know that this ends up being true. But Molly, do you think that this made a difference?
I don't know. I feel like Joe's just strong, regardless of him getting fed or not.
Yeah.
Like I think in general, I think they just wanted to say that because they wanted to say, like, I don't know how factual it would have been if he hadn't gotten food, if he still, like, maybe he wouldn't have had as much energy, but he still would have been motivated to try to win. And, like, Joe's going to be a beast at all these challenges. So I don't think it would have changed that much.
Yeah. And Quinn, this is kind of like the opposite of Big Brother in a way, where instead of someone like or a few people getting a reward on Big Brother, a few people go on Slop every week. So was that ever a consideration in terms of who y'all chose to go on Slop, in terms of like, oh, I don't want this person to like do well in this competition this week, so I'm going to put them on Slop to make it less likely for them to do perform well?
I think the only person that would have like worked on was like it made you just gotta feel bad. Like I was on Slop week one.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't that bad. I lost like 15 pounds, I swear.
Whoa.
Because I weighed myself at the end of the season and I had lost 10 pounds in the Big Brother house.
Wow.
But I looked like aesthetically, I looked way skinnier and like malnourished. Like I would have one scoop of slop a day and it would like fit my appetite. Like it was fine. Um, the people who struggled the most, like Chemo was on slop like 3 times, so he was withering away. Angela on as a have not was a nightmare situation for all of us.
Well, was that
She
any
like
different than every other week?
yeah, it made it worse. If you can imagine, it got worse somehow. And it was just like you feel so bad. Like after my first week as being a have not, they made us pick the second people.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down to Rubina. And I love Rubina. I don't want Rubina to starve. And so then I was like, can I just go on Slop again? To which we were told no. And I was like, this is BS. I guess I have to pick Rubina. And then the HOH that I won, you like, if you dropped your egg, I threw my egg on the ground because I was like, screw it. I don't care about being a have not. I'll get like the brownie points from the house of, you know, hey, I'm taking up one of these have not spots. And then I knew I was going to win HOH. So I was like, then that means there's only 2 have nots instead of 3. So like we're doing a public service here. But I mean, people sleeping in that room, like it did impact people. Like Angela snuck in a blanket. I remember that like being a whole thing where she was like, it's too cold in there. I'm bringing a blanket. You can't stop me. Chemo, he'd like get up and you just hear like of his back popping. Like it broke people down, but it was never like an in-game factor, which makes it even more evil that it happens. And I love it. We should do more have-nots. We have 30 extra minutes on Wednesday. Let's talk about the suffering some more. Let's bring it back, okay?
I agree. Like, if you're gonna do have-nots, show it on the show. Like, have it be like a storyline of some sort. Because like it feels like these days it's, why do we even do it anymore if they're just never gonna show any of it at all?
I always think of like Big Brother 25, where Corey keeps getting put on slop, and we're witnessing him evolve into this small Victorian child, and the show hasn't addressed it. They're like, yeah, so we're killing Corey right now, day by day, but we're not gonna bring it up, all right? We got to talk about Cam, and he's a space cowboy for some reason.
I always think of Chicken George back in the day.
I guess.
Yeah.
Love Chicken George, true.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, I always think of Chicken George because on Big Brother All-Stars, he, like, volunteered to go on Slop for the rest of the season, and he lasted quite a while longer after that, and it was just, like, I mean, he was, like, just completely, like, withering away, and it was crazy to watch.
Him in the jury house, that grocery list must have gone crazy. Because you get to order groceries every week. That must have been, he must have gotten there and probably when he got voted out and was in the hotel room. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine what room service he asked for. Like, poor George.
Oh, poor Georgie. But back to Survivor. Sorry for everybody who's not a Big Brother fan. We've talked a lot about Big Brother.
Tune in.
Back at Reward, Cheyenne and Joe talk. And Joe says, unsurprisingly, that he wants to stay 4 strong till the end. Shaheen agrees, but then talks to Kyle later and throws out getting rid of Eva now. And this was kind of a shock to me that I knew Shaheen was, you know, like she was kind of talking in confessional, like, is it time to make a move? But like for him to actually like vocalize this was kind of surprising to me. But he does say in his confessional, Kyle, that he wants to make a move of his own and not go along with Shaheen's plan. And that he actually wants to get out Shaheen instead. So Molly, do you think that Kyle should have just gone along with Shaheen's plan here, or is this a smarter plan that he came up with of his own?
I think Kyle did the right thing here in creating his own plan. Obviously, better for his resume, but also I think at this point, like, like Eva, if she's on jury or Joe's on jury, like they're gonna vote for each other, and so he thought like Kyle, if he made a move on Shaheen, like Shaheen's obviously a big fan, like Shaheen could respect him for it, and like then also give him a vote in the final three, if he makes it there. So I think for Kyle, this was definitely the smartest move to do.
Yeah. Quinn, what do you think?
I love where Kyle's head is at. First, we learned through the edit that Eva doesn't have a perceived like any win equity. So I was like, that's great storytelling. Everyone's complaining, why aren't they targeting Eva? It's like, well, they don't think she can win. And in Survivor, that really, really matters. I tried to make it matter on my season of BB26. My number one didn't listen to me, use the veto. So dumb. But I love Kyle targeting Shaheen because he gets to maintain that relationship with Joe and Eva. You get out a big target like Shaheen. Shaheen had the best legs in the game. We saw it this episode. I agree. Put him in the Louvre. I need him in a what's it called? Museum. I need it. And so I get it. You have to target someone with that great of a beard as well.
Of
And
course.
it's like if you follow along with Shaheen's plan, Eva goes home. I feel like Joe has no choice but to like solidify with Shaheen. And it's just like, okay, well, and so now it's like Joe and Shaheen versus Kyle, and then Shaheen had a relationship with Camilla, and so it's like that gets a little precarious for Kyle. If he takes out the guy coming up with ideas to keep the woman who's loyal, I think that's smart. And so I really liked where his head was at with this plan, this scheme.
For sure. Yeah. And let's go into exactly what this plan is here, the details of it. So the next morning, Joe, Kyle, and Shaheen return from a ward. Kyle immediately goes to talk with Camilla and fill her in on his plan. So the details of it are that he wants to tell Joe a lie, that Shaheen showed Camilla that he has an idol and wants to make a move against Joe and Eva. So the goal of this is to take out Shaheen and have Joe and Eva feel indebted to Kyle and Camilla without them being any aware at all of how close Camilla and Kyle are still. So they get away with this week with still being able to maintain that they are not a close pair and have Joe and Eva feel like, wow, they just saved us by filling us in on this. And so we owe them something. And I think this is, yeah, I mean, like you said, Quinn, I think that this is a really, really smart plan that I think in a lot of people I think are like, why aren't they getting rid of Joe and Eva? Why not split up Joe and Eva? But I think that when you really think about this, and I think Camilla even says this, that I wouldn't have thought of a plan like this. That Kyle came up with this and thought of it is pretty genius. But yeah, Molly, do you think that this is a better plan than splitting up Joe and Eva?
Yeah, no, and this was so smart. Like the way that they were describing this, I was like, no way this actually works out. But it ended up working. But I think in general, like obviously, like the fact that Joe and Eva are so close and they're gonna be remain loyal, like they obviously they swear by it. So they know like if you hit on one of them, like they're gonna just hate on the other person, whoever got them out. Like you want to keep them comfortable, and so with Kyle and Camilla knowing that, like the Shaheen wouldn't be as volatile with that, like is obviously smarter to go for Shaheen here.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that like we kind of talked about like, oh, Joe's gonna, be bitter against whoever goes against him. But I think like keeping him secure here and then maybe like letting him well, I don't know, get to fire making. He's a fireman. Like, I don't know. Like that maybe that's not the smartest move. But I was gonna say, like, in an ideal world, getting him out then at fire making is the perfect way to get him on the jury because he's not bitter against anyone. Like, he this was his own doing. He could have saved himself or not. But maybe putting Joe and Eva there together is good because then it splits them up, of course. Like they don't get to the end together and like they're still their number one ally, each other's number one ally, but like they're not also bitter. And maybe that's like a better way of like they're probably not going to vote for you, whoever the other two are that are not one of them, but they might not also be like poisoning the jury. So I don't know. I think that this was a really good plan overall. But we already talked about the immunity challenge here. Joe wins immunity, of course. And so that splits up any plan of potentially getting him out. But already wasn't really the plan, so not the end of the world. Kyle begins enacting this plan that by telling Joe that Shaheen flipped, Joe seems a bit suspicious, but also goes to Eva to fill her in, and they're kind of not quite sure yet. Joe goes to Camilla, and she corroborates the story. And then he sits down with Shaheen, and this was the big moment that Shaheen denies having any other plan than sticking with the four. Joe really presses him on this, and he gets frustrated and walks away. He really gets the sense that Shaheen is lying to him in this moment and hiding something. Quinn, were you surprised that when you saw this plan like actually seemingly working and getting Shaheen and Joe to kind of have some tension with each other here?
I was so excited to see this plan come together because I feel like we've been really waiting for this moment to come up with these harebrained scheme. Both of which the biggest moves I feel like, or the most exciting, flashy moves, came from Kyle and Camilla. So thank you to those two for providing. But like 2 times in one season is huge.
Yeah, we forget pre-jury or
And
pre-birth.
man, do I love it. I love the thing with Survivor players is everyone is super smart. Everyone's very intelligent. They're all game savvy. And so it's like Kyle like allows Shaheen to they like talk through all the options and then he says Eva's name. And so now it's built off this truth. I think that is so hilarious to me because as a, prescribed messier player, why can't you just lie? Why can't you be like, Joe, straight up, I'm pretty annoyed right now. And he's gonna be like, why? And then you're like, Shaheen's sitting here and he's talking about targeting Eva. And it's like, why do you have to have like an ounce of truth in this like concoction of deception? Just lie. Just be like, yeah, and he said you look ugly in that shirt. Like just add something to it, Like I think it's so funny. And it identifies that like Survivor players are so sweaty because even as they're like sharpening the blade against you, they're using your tools, materials, and words. And so I love that element of the plan is coming from Shaheen's own words. I loved the vulnerability from Shaheen where he's talking about like being Icarus, the name of the episode. He's kind of teeing himself up to go home, which that takes like you have to be so real in the diary room. I hate people who lie in the diary room or like try to make themselves come off as like, oh, this was always the game plan. So I really respect that he's teeing himself up to say like, I'm trying to make a big move and maybe it'll fall flat on its face, but at least I'm trying where I'm weighing out the options. So I really respected that from Shaheen, but I love to see a plan come together. This one felt like it had so many moving pieces. Camilla almost died by that like branch falling from the tree.
Oh my God,
like,
that was crazy.
And she stayed cool under pressure. She was like, oh my God, that's crazy. So anyway, Shaheen was saying Eva. Whoa. And he's got an idol. Oh my God. And like, I love it. I love it. I love this plan. I love the moving parts. I love when lies have like 6 or 7 steps to like verification. I think it's like the best part of reality TV right there.
Yeah, and I mean, word on the street is that the last person to reference Icarus on reality TV went home just a few minutes later. So I think you might.
That is true. That is true. For the Survivor fans, I have no idea who I am. My final speech, I pleading for people to not send me home. I compared myself to Icarus, saying that my game is paralleled that of Icarus, where I've flown too close to the sun and plummeted 12,000 miles per hour towards the earth. And I was like, my pitch was like my trajectory would change, but the destination was the same. Eviction. So keep me in the game just 1 extra week because I'll go home before you, which was true. Okay. I feel like I should have stayed. But poor Shaheen. Something about being handsome with nice legs on TV, you're going to get sent home. And it's like, I deal with it every day. He has to deal with it now. It's sick, twisted, and cruel.
Yes, it is. Then we do go to Tribal, and of course, now this Tribal was interesting. We got a very unique edit here. Molly, what were your thoughts on this way of that they filmed this tribal towards the end, where we got Joe's perspective, really, like where we just see him looking at the person talking, and it just like you hear womp womp womp. Like can't really tell what they're saying, but it's just Joe in his mind, I think, trying to like suss out: is this a lie? Is this the truth? Do I go through with this? Do you think that he was really still thinking about it in this moment?
I don't know. I feel like the editing made us want to think that, but I don't know entirely of like what was going on fully in his head in that specific moment. I feel like the editing obviously was cool to see. I was like, wow, this is a change. Like I like when now I feel like I notice a lot of things in editing more than I used to in reality TV. I'd just be like, oh, what's going on? And now I'm like, okay, the way that they're editing that, like that matters. And so I think with this, they really were wanting us to see, are you, is Joe believing this? Like, what does he believe right now? Like, not wanting us to know, oh, okay, Joe's just sticking with, like, he's gonna flip and, like, that's gonna happen. Like, it wanted, I feel like he was still in that moment because the editing was still trying to decide, but not really. Like, like, probably not, but, like,
Yeah.
because of that's how it was shown, like, that's what they made us think.
Yeah. And Quinn, Camilla votes for Mitch here. It's a vote of 4-2. It is not 5-1. Why do you think she did that?
I think that the reason was, what if he did use the idol and then Mitch voted for Eva, and so that like maybe plants mistrust between Joe, Eva, and Mitch, and so you put the votes on Mitch, so there's 2 votes there just in case there is like a vote on Eva, it cancels out. Like I think that that was the plan. I have no clue, but whatever Camilla does, I'm the number one supporter. All right,
Yes.
go Camilla. Yeah, she should have voted for Kyle. I don't know, maybe Jeff. Write Jeff's name on there. I would co-sign it.
We support women's rights and wrongs here.
Literally.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wasn't sure. Like, my only thought was like that maybe she was trying to separate herself from Kyle, but then like she was very much still in on this plan. Like, I don't think that that would have like changed anything because like we see, I mean, like Eva go to her and like talk about like our we're still doing Kyle or Shaheen. So like I don't know that that may make sense, but I think that what you said probably is the thing that's made most sense that I've heard. So that's very possible. But anyways, that's kind of this episode. Good episode, I thought. Like better than the last 2 or 3 for sure. And I am more intrigued going into the finale than I think I came into this last episode thinking I would be. So
Yeah, I
excited for
agree.
next week. But Quinn, what are your finale predictions? Molly and I, we're gonna do another episode tomorrow where we're gonna delve really deep into these predictions in this final 5. But want to hear your thoughts.
I think that my predictions are, who's due for a win? Kyle wins immunity, right? And so then now who's on the cutting room floor? We have Joe, Eva, Camilla, and Mitch. Maybe this is the moment that, because Camilla seems to have a lot of pull over Mitch. Mitch is in the diary room talking about making big moves. I feel like he would not object to Joe going home. So maybe they vote out Joe. And then we find ourselves final 4 being Mitch, Eva, Kyle, and Camilla. Kyle probably wins that, like, I was going to say HOH, whatever the immunity. And so then he forces Eva and Mitch to fight to the death to be the 0 vote finalists, I suppose, like over the fire. No, wait, they definitely target Mitch, right? Because they're saying he has win equity. And oh man, I suspect Mitch goes home. I'm rewriting everything
At
I just
5?
thought.
Okay.
Yeah, Mitch is going home. Joe wins. He puts up Kyle, Camilla. In real life, did Camilla give off fire building skills?
No.
I think Kyle has to win that, right?
I feel like Kyle's good at everything else.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Kyle, if you're watching this, I hate you. You're good at everything. You're tall, muscular, handsome, and you're a lawyer. That makes sense. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love that, dude. God, kick rocks. So yeah, he'll probably be good at making fire. So Then we have Kyle, Eva, Joe on finale night. Kyle reveals circuitry and wires and lets everyone know you've been getting played. I'm a lawyer. And by the way, I never subscribed to truth, honesty, and integrity. These dorks did. Vote for me because I represent the grit that went into each and every one of your evictions. And so he honors the jury. He gives a moving speech, and he stays.
I love
As you
this.
notice, Kyle has way more diary rooms than Joe. The
Yeah.
diary room, and they have similar amounts of control. The diary room represents your ability to speak. How good of a storyteller are you? Kyle has more diary rooms. He's also a lawyer, but I would imagine he's able to put together a winning argument much better than Joe is, who has had a lot of control this season and doesn't have as many diary rooms. And that's without the stress and pressure of people hurtling these blades and questions at you. So I feel like I don't know how good of a like Joe gave off a lot of swag at the Bryson Wynn event, but I don't know how that translates to public speaking. And I'm hoping that Kyle can edge him out there. Either way, between Kyle and Joe, we have a good winner. I'm just team lies, deception, darkness, evil, and nefarious deeds.
I can very much agree with that. Yeah, I think, and like I said, we're gonna talk about this more, but I think that Kyle just has more to say with his game. Like I think that he's just working harder, whereas I think Joe is just very easily in control of this big alliance and just kind of doesn't really, unless he's paranoid, doesn't really think much about it other than I just want to stay loyal. And so like how much is there to say in the diary room in the confessional other than that? So I think like Kyle just has more like going on in his mind at all times. So I think that makes sense that he gets a lot more confessionals.
Joe did have the DR sesh where he mentions his pager and he's hitting the town. So I don't want to say he's a bad storyteller. My mom laughed so hard at that, at the like pager. In my head, I was like, I've never seen, like I had a nurse friend who had a pager, but other than that, I was like, I don't get the reference. But he's a good storyteller, but I think you're right. I think Kyle just has more to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Quinn, thank you so much for joining us. This was so much fun. And where can our listeners follow you? Do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. I believe that we will Quinn, and then streaming 6 days a week. Michael's been here, for a
I'm
couple
here.
of them. I stream on Twitch every now and Quinn, 6 days a week, starting at 7:12 CST. I cover reality TV. I play video games. I talk a lot about Big Brother. I still have 1,000,001 perspectives to share on that show, so I usually just yap about that. I yell at a chatter occasionally, but feel free to check me out. Otherwise, keep watching reality TV. Tune in, Big Brother 27. If you're not a Big Brother fan, check it out. It's campy, it's fun, and it's a better game than Survivor. I said it. I said
I
it.
agree with that. I fully agree with that. And yeah, July 10th, we're under 2 months. So it's coming up soon and I am ready for it as well. So Quinn, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to follow us at Let's Chat Reality on all social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back sooner than usual. We will be back tomorrow with a Survivor finale preview. We're going to be delving deep into each of the Final Fives games, giving our predictions, and looking back at our draft that we did at the beginning of the season to see how right or more likely wrong we were. So that should be a fun time. Check us out, and thank you so much for watching or listening. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.